The New York Mets finally get a win that they've needed for so long. Pete Alonso walks it off. What could this mean as the Mets face the heavily favored, in my opinion, San Diego Padres over the next three with an off day tomorrow? Can they get it together? What to expect from Jonathan, who's going to get another start? Brandon Sproat, Noah McLean doing things that we've never seen done in this franchise's history. Can the offense pick it up? Can Juan Soto finally get the recognition that he so well deserves? We're going to talk about that with Nelson Figueroa and a lot more next on Metcast. What's going on, Met fans? Welcome back to another episode of Metcast. Today, I'm joined by one of yours favorites, Nelson Figueroa, former pitcher of our New York Mets and current host on WPix 11, who we always watch over there. And I'll tell you this, Nelson, right off the bat. And don't forget, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, turn those notifications on so you never miss a live like this. Nelson, today was a day that we needed so desperately as Mets fans. The long losing streak felt like it would never come to an end. I was there for that loss to Jacob deGrom with my partner, Dan Bartels, and shout out to everybody who we met over there. I'll say this, heart-wrenching, absolute heart-wrenching when you see happening to this young starting pitching. But first, give me your take on today's walk-off win before we touch base on this starting pitching.
Well, I'd love to say it was a long time coming, but they found ways to continue to lose games over that 8-game losing streak. Just really hard to see and envision or even imagine the team that we saw going into the second week of June as one of the best teams in all of baseball, with things just looking like they were going to be on the up and up. Still hadn't seen Manaea, still hadn't seen Senga. Just feeling like, wow, what could be for this team if they were able to click on all cylinders. Soto had just started to take off. Just imagine what kind of a season he would have if he didn't have that slow first 2 months of the season. He's really put up these numbers in an ungodly fashion over the last 2.5 months. So, the win was definitely more than just needed. It was, they're at a point now where it has to be a spark to turn things around. As we keep trying to say to ourselves, it can't get any worse, could it possibly? And yet it always finds a way. So after yesterday's debacle, in which, one of the young guns goes out there and gives you everything he has, but did he? Only 70 pitches, and they held back the reins instead of letting him go one more inning. Outs are at a premium. This kid's in command of the other team. You let him go back out there again to leave it to, instead of 9 outs, it's now 6 outs. And who do you trust? You trust Brooks Raley. You trust Edwin Diaz. And as things would have it, while you're having a losing streak like this, whatever could go wrong will go wrong. Murphy's Law, right? And we had Murphy play for us for quite so many years, and he was back in the building on Saturday, of course. So those are the kinds of things that would happen during a weekend like this. There's so many emotions that are going through Mets fans' minds because, you feel like if this team can just harness their potential, we shouldn't be in this, but we have gone through the worst. We have gone through the ups and downs of the season already. Now, can they put it all together and continue to play winning baseball when they need it the most? Padres coming into town, this is it. This is put up or shut up. And it's hard to believe that you're in this situation to begin with a team that felt like they were destined to do, some historic things for the franchise. They're going to have to look at little victories like this and hope that they can launch into bigger things to continue forward.
And let's touch briefly on it. Mets fans, including myself, I never killed Juan Soto, but I was critical of him early on a little bit because it always felt, Nelson, he came up in the monster spot and was not coming through early. But let's throw him his flowers because we're honest here. When he's doing bad, we'll let you know. But check this out. Coming into today, the month of September, 12 games, 362 average, a 1202 OPS. And to put that into perspective, we always talk here how important it is September to turn it on. This is the time, like you said, to put up or shut up. And we actually have a whole segment and graphic, which I will not play here today, dedicated to that put up or shut up moment. To put it into perspective, a player that I believe needs to be called out. And listen, he had a nice dive to home plate, firing everybody up, making it on base. But Francisco Lindor entering today, 12 games a month of September, 186 average, 636 OPS, amongst the league's worst. And then you pair that with a guy that we added at the deadline in Cedric Mullins. I mean, talk about the ultimate bust. 8 games in September, 111 average, 372 OPS. He is getting on base at a 100, a 10% clip right now.
Yeah.
And we'll address that in a minute, but let's be honest. We got to start throwing our flowers to Juan Soto, Nelson. What he's done in September, although we have this losing streak, if he did not do what he did earlier, we could be out 2, 3, 4 games. He's the only guy consistently hitting nukes. He's a 40-30 guy, and we still have 3 series to go.
Yeah, rather amazing to think about the turnaround for Soto, and when, basically June 1st. But what's weird is the trade-off, right? When Soto wasn't doing well, the rest of the team was pulling together and finding ways to win ball games, as they were the best, playing to the best record in baseball up until that point. Now Soto is actually added to the mix, and you would think, man, this is just the icing on the cake, and it's been the absolute opposite. It's as if the menu got flipped and it went from cake to pie, and Soto is the only one that's eating. It's been hard, very, very hard to watch. You said some of the other numbers, right? You're looking at 2 guys who you're counting on, the leadoff hitter, or at least part-time leadoff hitter. When you have Francisco Lindor, they've tried to move him up and down the lineup. They tried to do a multitude of things to spark this team, and they haven't been able to keep the flame lit for very long. We've seen stretches, we've seen streaks, and that's been the thing about the Mets hitters this year. They've been streaky hitters. It hasn't been a cohesive unit. It hasn't been up and down the lineup. It hasn't been, and if it has been, it's been for a series at a time, and you can't play winning baseball like that unless it's in the playoffs, right? I'll go back to a team that really had no business winning the World Series, but they got hot at the right time, as the Texas Rangers. Texas Rangers were the worst team in baseball for the prior season. If you go through all the storylines of what they added and the players that they added, they were throwaways from other teams and all those different things. This team of the Mets is built way better to be a sustainable success story. And yet we haven't seen it. And for whatever reason it may be, and I know there's all these kind of storylines behind the scenes, are they really a cohesive unit? Do they like each other? Soto shouts out Marte as the actual leader of the team, while everybody else is waiting for Lindor to get the C on his chest. And what about Pete Alonso, homegrown talent who doesn't want to leave and is trying to have big moments? Shout out to Pete today, stepping up in a major, major way, not getting the guys over, but not just getting them over, getting them in. Having that big moment. And that's, what you're looking for is a team to get hot at the right time. It doesn't have to look perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. You know what it has to be? It has to be, hey, we went through the thick of it, and now all of a sudden we're coming out the other side of it and finding ways to win games. The maturation of these young kids right before your eyes. And for me, it's, how much these kids put into their season already, going from AA to AAA to big leagues, and now getting to the big league level. And it's supposed to be, their season would have been over. Their numbers were over. Their efforts were over. Getting a cup of coffee call up with a team would have been nice. Now you're putting everything, all the eggs in their basket. It's up to them, and everybody's putting it on the young guns to save the season for the Mets. No, I'm putting it on Minaya. I'm putting it on Senga. I'm putting it on, Clay Holmes wanted to be a starter. Well, act like a starter. Stop going 4 1/3. Stop going 3 innings and 80 pitches. These are the kinds of things that, the storylines and the narratives have to change, because there are expectations on certain people, and the icing on the cake is supposed to be Soto having a season like he is. His career high was 41 home runs. He's going to break that. Newsflash, he's going to break that. He's going to get over 100 RBIs. This is a guy who is with all the grief that has been given to him in the beginning, overpaid, and the guy, he doesn't want to be here. He'd rather be a Yankee. He smiles too much, in the middle of a battle. I didn't see anybody complaining about when he was smiling, hitting the ball in the upper deck yesterday. Nobody
Absolutely.
complained about that. Right? The guy goes out there and he competes to the best of his ability. He has become a better base runner. Shout out to Richardson at first base, the first base coach who has these guys stealing at a historic rate where guys never ran before. There's a lot of good things to like about this Mets team. And although they've been down, they're not out. And I think that's one of the things. Everybody wants to put a cliche, a catchphrase to this team, the OMG and all that stuff. Remember, OMG came down to the last game of the season. What would have happened if they lost that game to the Braves? They lose that game to the Braves, and remember who was the hero in that game? That would be Francisco Lindor, right? Hitting that big home run late in the ball game. It got down to the wire. So this team has done this before in a very similar fashion. It seemed like it was going to be a cakewalk because of the way that they played the first 2.5 months, but reality struck hard. I've never seen a team use 50 pitchers, 50 different pitchers to stay afloat, and we're not even done yet. So I think there's a lot still left, and I'm here for it, man. I'm logged in. I'm on board. I think this team has enough pieces, and you have guys that you can ride in the bullpen. Edwin Diaz had his third blown save of the season, and everybody wants to jump on him. You can't possibly. You can't possibly. You got Brooks Raley, who came off of a major surgery to come back and is thrust right in the middle. And you're looking forward to the guy who doesn't throw 102 miles an hour. Yet you got a guy who throws 102 miles an hour that led the league in saves just a year ago, and you're hoping he doesn't get a chance to pitch. And I'm telling you that whatever is ailing him can be fixed very quickly, and you'll see the best of him as well. So I think there's a lot of plus. Cedric Mullins has been a bust. There's no denying that. But
what happened to this guy?
You brought him in here. He wasn't playing well this year as it was. He was on a hot streak, and you thought that he could change his scenery. He got way worse. He just doesn't seem to fit, and he doesn't even know his role. Think about that. They went and traded for the guy, and they're making him a platoon player with a guy who bats $130. Right. How would you feel as that player?
Roster if they make it. There's no way, Nelson. You can't have a. He doesn't run well. He's an okay fielder at best. Has a noodle for an arm. At least Tyron Taylor, and I can't believe I'm defending Tyron Taylor. He's got an absolute cannon in the outfield. We watched him go.
Yeah, no doubt.
The ball's in the gap. I mean, if you're not going to hit, you might as well play for a great defense in the outfield.
I think if you're looking at what would happen is everything that we can't put the cart before the horse, that old cliche, right? But if you were building, if the season ended today, who would be on your postseason roster? Yeah, not round one. You got to play with the guys that got you there, and unless Cedric Mullins finds a way to turn it around and all of a sudden flips it on its head and is all that the all-star Cedric Mullins that we've seen in the past, then no. And that's the thing I think about this Mets team and the front office, that you have to you give credit to in a sense, but at the same time, it's just a very weird thing because it's hard to build chemistry as a team when there's 50 different faces out on that mound for you. It's hard to build.
Let me ask you this, Nelson. What do you make of that? I mean, we just got the news that came down shortly before we came on. You spoke about Sean Manaea going, he's got to pitch. He's going to the bullpen. He is going to the bullpen. We had this from SNY, from Alex Smith, his report. Mets Clay Holmes to start on Tuesday versus Padres with Sean Manaea to piggyback out of bullpen. It's happening. Talk about the guy who got paid $75 million, Nelson. Frankie Montas, $35 million. Is anyone going to hold David Stearns accountable for one of the worst off seasons? If they don't get Soto and they bring back what they have here, they thought they had enough. Maybe you get a middle-end center fielder, and then you're talking about the team they bring back. Maybe they bring back Severino instead, if you don't get Soto. But outside of that, what has he done as this great GM and then an absolute catastrophic trade deadline on top of that. How do you make sense of this as a Met fan? Because I'm sitting here and I believe in David Stearns. I'm not going to say I don't. I think what he did in Milwaukee is a blueprint for what is to happen. But that took a decade to build, and we're not here for a decade. Lindor's only got a couple of years at most left in his prime. Alonso's gone. Peterson's gone. Manaea will never pitch again as a Met. Canning is gone. There are so many holes this offseason. We'll get to that at a later date. But what do you make of David Stearns? We got to be honest with ourselves. Do you agree this is a terrible season for him?
Well, let's go with what it was on paper, though. Well, on paper, nobody hated the Sean Manaea signing. No one. Now the injuries, you can't foretell injuries, and so it'd be hard to sit on your thumbs and say, "Oh, maybe he gets hurt." There's no maybe he gets hurt. Who? Jerry Jones? Jerry Jones? You're going to say Micah Parsons is not the player he could be if he's hurt? No, you know what I mean? No, it's your honey iced tea. It's always good in hindsight to say, "Oh, look at what a genius he is or isn't." I can tell you this right now. When the trade deadline hit and he went out and got a Helsley and he had Soto and he put this bullpen together, executives across the board were saying this is a top 3 bullpen that the Mets have put together. Has it panned out as such thus far? No, but it still has the power arms that you need. At the same time, are you committed to these guys? No, you don't have. You'll turn the page if it doesn't work out, and even if it does work out, you might turn the page. But I tell you what, Helsley's stuff is 102 miles an hour with a 92, 3 mile an hour slider. No, not at all. You have to earn trust. You have to earn trust. And so from what I've seen thus far, whatever ailed him this year as a Cardinal, and what that's called is like, oh my God, this guy had 49 saves, and yet we know what's coming. Makes it a little different when people care a little bit more. It's no longer a secret. What do we know about closers in the postseason? Whatever tells that they've had throughout the season and they have dominated in the season, Clase was not the same in the postseason. Why? The Yankees knew every pitch that was coming, but they didn't let people know. Nowadays, look at the
Pete Alonso home run. He was tipping it.
Absolutely. Nowadays, what happens when they know a tell? They go out there and they wave their arms. That's how they let everybody know they know a tell instead of saving it for bigger moments. Hey, you can maybe get a hit. And even if you know what's coming, baseball is not that easy of a sport. And if you know what's coming, you're still going to take advantage of it. So you kind of normally you would hide something like that, and so you don't tip your hand until the postseason. That's where it matters the most, and that's what we saw the Yankees do against Clase. You had guys having 8, 9, 10 pitch at bats against one of the best closers in baseball and succeeding because they had an idea of what was coming before it left his hand. Now, all of a sudden, the Mets are the same way. You have an opportunity for him to still fix whatever's ailing him. I trust his stuff. Now, does 102 down the middle of the plate and a 90-mile-an-hour slider matter if you're hanging it over the middle of the plate? Absolutely not. You have to make better pitches, and he's capable of doing it. He just hasn't yet. Do I trust him? Am I putting him, front and center on a decisive game? No, absolutely not. You got to go with the guys that are trustworthy in that situation. So, and I think that's what David Stearns is about. I think that's what Carlos Mendoza is about. They're not married. Honestly, like you're normally married to contracts, and you're like, well, that guy has to play, or that guy has. We haven't seen that out of this front office. This front office has been like, hey, you know what? We're going to play the kid with the hot hand. They played the kids. They played Beatty. They played Mauricio. Jeff McNeil was sitting in obscurity for quite some time while those kids played, and they were doing well. But when it came push to shove, hey, you know what? The kids have fizzled out a little bit. Throw McNeil back out there. Let's see what he can do. Moving McNeil up in the lineup. So I think that there's a sense behind them, that there's a logic behind them that sometimes, you look back now and you're like, oh yeah, he missed on this, he missed on that. He missed on a lot of things the first year. He brought over Hauser. He brought over Hauser, and everybody's like, oh, it's a low cost thing. And then by May, they're like, you know what, get this guy out here, and he was gone. They don't sit on it though. They don't sit there. Like we see a lot of Anthony Volpe and Brian Cashman is like, oh, you guys are going to be eating crow when he's leading the league in hitting. We'll be waiting a long time for that, right? But the Yankees finally went to a different shortstop because they needed a guy who's playing better now. And whatever the reason, injuries, whatever it may be. And I'm going to tell you this firsthand. You never know what it's like for a guy underneath that uniform. You see him out there, Yeah, he wants to be out there. You give him credit for that. There's guys that just pull the plug these days and are like, I'm less than 80%, so I'm not going to play. There are guys that are being held together with duct tape, bro. And you don't know what it's like under that uniform. So when you go out there and you're like, oh my God, why isn't this guy performing? Why isn't he running 100%? There's a reason for it. But you know what? He's posting up. So got to give guys props for at least trying to post up and taking the ball when given the opportunity. Stanek is another guy. Stanek, I loved the fire out of that guy. That's why I said bring him back. They brought him back for $4.5 million. There's no way you can tell me that's a bad deal. However, he has had bad moments. Right? He has great stuff. He has had bad moments, but he's lately. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that guys go through that, but there's some point that the manager is the only one that has to have the confidence in the guy, right? The manager is the one that's going to live and die with that decision. Yeah. As the fans, we sit back and we're like, oh my God, what are you doing? Hey, you know what? I got to go to a guy and it might not be the ideal situation, but you know what? I'm going to put some faith in him. That could turn Stanek around, what we saw today. Big moment. He knuckled up. We saw yesterday. We thought it was going to be 9 outs between Raley and Edwin Diaz, and they stuck Tyler Rogers in there. And Tyler Rogers has been fantastic. Don't get me wrong. And I look up at the TV, and it's second and third, nobody out. What happened to the other plan? Where'd the other plan go wrong? Why are we adding to the other plan where we didn't need just 2 pitchers to be perfect? We need 3 pitchers to be perfect in a 2-0 game, and it didn't happen. And it's a gut punch again in a game like that. But the offense has to be better. We know that of top to bottom, the offense has to be better. I mean, it can't be a one-man band. But we did see the Yankees go all the way to the World Series with 2 guys, right? Soto and Judge carried them all the way to the World Series. And so there's a lot of different ways to get to the postseason. And once you're in the postseason, I have total belief that the Mets are built to do something really, really special. And I'm looking even at the young kids, man. These young kids that are coming in. Nolan McLean is not afraid of anyone.
Let's address that because we have Nolan McLean, the lowest ERA in a pitcher's first 6 starts, 1.19 for the Mets, becoming the first Mets pitcher to go 4-0 in their first 4 starts, Nelson. That's something we've spoken a lot on this program about. We spoke with Harper. We spoke with all of our other guests. Are we really looking at game 1 starting this kid? Because right now, I've been saying it for a week and a half, 2 weeks now. He's the ace of the staff. Right now, who do you trust more than him? Clearly, it's not Minaya. He's going to the pen. It ain't Clay Holmes. It's not anybody else. It's got to be. It's got to be McLean. And maybe game 2, you might be looking at Sproat. I mean, who else right now?
Yeah, I mean, so Peterson has been the workhorse that has gotten you this far, and we've seen him kind of, start to sputter for a little bit, right? But Peterson has been that guy, especially left-handed. Maybe you turn the lineup around. Maybe he's game 2 and you go Sproat game 3. But I mean, you're looking for an opportunity for a guy like McLean, and you're riding the hot hand. And there's nobody hotter in all of baseball. You're talking about plus stuff. And this is without having the Paul Skeens added velocity to it. We're talking about movement, location. And as I say all the time, there's 2 metrics that are never measured on paper. And that's you reach into your chest and then you reach down below and see what you got. Nolan McLean's got him. I mean, this kid goes out there and he is giving you his A game every single step of the way, every single at bat. He takes it personal, and you can see that in him, right? Jonah Tong has a little bit of he's a little bit in awe, I think, still at what has happened to him. He's very. It's not just that he's raw. I think it's more like there are mistakes that you can get away with at AA and AAA.
Oh, of course,
right? There's mistakes that you can get away with. He's not getting away with those mistakes as of yet. Okay. And again, that you're talking about missing. He misses by a half inch, or I should say the hitters miss by a half inch, and he's popping them up instead of those balls being home runs. You're talking about a half inch. All right. And if he's able to, be a little bit more unpredictable, be able to make the ball move a little bit more, being able to locate a little bit better. I mean, the kid has had phenomenal numbers. Baseball doesn't change all of a sudden. It's 60 feet, 6 inches, no matter who's playing the game. And it's a AA, AAA in the big leagues. He's faced good hitters all the way up. As he faced, major league caliber hitters, maybe someday, Today they could be, but we haven't seen him at the big league level yet. So he had to go out there and face the same guys over and over again. That's what I look for. How did he do against the same teams over and over again? He's got funky mechanics. First time you ever see him, it's a little difficult to pick up. Now, when you face him a second time, a third time, what can he do to continue to get you out? They're going with the idea that these kids will not face the same team twice. We've seen McLean go and do it with the Phillies, and he rose to the occasion both times. I think you're looking at an opportunity. If you get into the playoffs, these teams that they're going to face aren't going to have a lot on these kids, and it's different than knowing stats on a page and what his velocity is like or what his movement is like to actually what it's like when you're standing in the plate.
But a guy like Noah McLean, it doesn't matter how many times you see him. He's throwing 5 pitches. Like, yep. Nelson, I said this when he was in AAA. Now everyone's running with it, of course. And I'm probably not the first person, but I'm one of those people are locked into these prospects.
Yes, sir.
When I'm looking at him, I said, listen, he's not him, but he reminds me so much of a Greg Maddux. That two-seamer that's moving 8 to 10 inches. And look, we see him dial it up to 97, 98 at times. He's 95, but when it's there and he needs it, it's there. Then he's got a cutter that breaks in. Then he's got a changeup that acts as a screwball. And then before you know it, he hits you with a curveball that is 10 miles an hour different. I don't know if we've seen this level in the Mets, especially when the other big guys are coming up, the Harveys or the Groms. Obviously, he didn't have that kind of height because of velocity isn't sitting at 99. But when's the last time a guy with this type of command? I mean, he doesn't walk anybody.
Yeah.
He might not strike out the world, but everything's weak. Everything's into the ground. And when he needs a big strikeout, he reaches back for it. He's wise beyond his years as a pitcher. And that's one thing that, look, I know he's up here now, but could he have won us a game a month and a half ago? The Mets really wanted so desperately to wait till August 15th because then they gain that extra year of control. They were willing to forfeit a game or two. Maybe not seeing that it would get this tight, but we're a loss or two away from missing the playoffs entirely. Do you think the Mets missed the boat by not bringing him up earlier? He was so dominant everywhere he went. And I understand Stern's philosophy. We want to see a guy get reffed up in the minor leagues to see how he's going to react. We've heard it with Brandon Sproat. We saw it with Brandon Sproat. Once he got promoted to AAA, he got whacked around. But McLean never got roughed up. The guy had a 2 ERA down in the minors, and now up here it's a 1. Some guys are just that special, and when you see it and identify it, you need to move it, because I'm blown away that Jonah Tung gets brought up before Brandon Sproat. And I understand how dominant Tung was, but you clearly see Sproat's way more polished than a Jonah Tung. And I question that, but do you think the Mets missed the boat by not bringing this kid up early, or do you think they brought him up just at the right time?
It's hard to say. I mean, the one thing you knew is that they were going to give every opportunity for the guys that were getting paid a lot of money to right the ship. They were going to give them every opportunity to go out there and figure it out. But when you are historically bad at starting pitching for, what was it? How many?
2.5 months.
But how many? It was like how many games in a row without getting a starter into the 6th inning, 7th inning, even.
Nelson, it was
yeah. It kept going lower and lower. I get it. So
we had terrible teams. We had Washington knocking the hell out of us. The Pittsburgh Pirates beat us, Nelson. That's where we were at.
Right, and I think you're always looking for an opportunity for the team to have a spark, but at the same time, it pulling the plug on someone without an injury taking place is really hard to do. That's a tough thing to do, because what if that spark fizzled out right away as well? Now, do you stunt the growth of the kid because he came up and gets knocked around at the major league level? So I think there's always a catch-22. There's a timing to it. They always kind of want to do it at home where they can nurture him. He can have time, a little extra time getting ready. It's an environment that he's comfortable around. There's a multitude of things that goes into every call up. And I can tell you that because I sat there and watched guy after guy after guy get called up ahead of me, even though I led the team in every category, strikeouts, wins, ERA, and I'm watching everybody else get an opportunity. And it was infuriating for quite some time. But, now that I'm older and I look back at it, they said the same thing to me. They wanted me to have 500 innings at the minor league level so I can experience everything, the ups and downs, how to get out of when things aren't going right, how to get out of every situation, pitching deep into ball games. That was the difference in my day. We were brought up, you're a starter, you better go 7. It wasn't this new age, and it's not even pitch count because, like I said, Sproat got pulled out with 70 pitches the other day. So it's not even a pitch count thing. It's just it's this new philosophy, some reason that they think that the way these bullpens are built.
Per hour dipped on his fastball. What do you think about that?
You know what that's called? It's called cruise control. Why do I have to overthrow my fastball? Maybe I can take a little bit off and I make the ball move a little bit. I can locate it a little bit better if I'm not trying to overthrow. Maybe I got over the nerves. Maybe in the beginning I was letting it eat because I was thinking I'm only going to hang around 2 times through the lineup. Hey, now I'm 3rd time through the lineup. Do you know what I can do? I can't throw harder maybe, but I can throw slower. I can make the ball move a little bit more. I can use my secondary pitches more often. And so I don't have to overthrow my fastball. I can use my fastball as just effect. I can move it. I can throw pitches inside off the plate. And maybe I don't like to throw a full 98 miles an hour when I'm going inside on a hitter. I'm not that savvy yet. Maybe I back off a little bit and it's a 94, but I place it in a spot where I don't get hurt by it. So there's a multitude of things, and you don't know everything about these pitchers. They don't know everything about these pitchers yet. They haven't had them long enough, but pitching is such an art, and I think that we have 3 young artists on the rise where they're not one-trick ponies. Like we're used to seeing one-trick ponies. We're used to getting really enamored with guys who can, right now, Senga without the 97-mile-an-hour fastball isn't the same pitcher. He's a fork ball specialist, where what we heard and we saw early in spring training was he added a slower curveball. He added a cutter to be a little bit quicker. He had these 4 pitches. He had the McLean mix, but he doesn't use it. He goes out there and he relies on the forkball, and teams are just taking it. If I'm going to see 5 forkballs, I'm guaranteeing 4 out of the 5 are going to probably be balls.
Eventually recognize the spin, right?
Yeah, absolutely, because they're looking for it. They're not challenged by the fastball. He used to challenge people with fastballs at 97 miles an hour. I can't tell you the last time I saw him throw 97. So,
and he's also leaving it down the middle of those fastballs.
Now you got Senga, and think about this. Senga, who's the guy you played 4 years, $15 million a year. You optioned him to the minor leagues. That would have never happened in the previous era, right? You look at Manaea, you $75 million, you brought him back, and now you think the best for the team is to piggyback those 2 guys. Clay Holmes start and Manaea come in, and you're talking about doing that. It was funny because I was just in fantasy camp at Citi Field, and we had a fantasy camper say right to David Stern's face, why don't you just piggyback all these other starters and let the kids, go out there and pitch, as much as they can? And he was laughing, but in a way it was kind of like, this is something that they've been deciding. We knew Clay Holmes wasn't going to be able to be a starter from April all the way to September. I mean, you're talking about pitching 200 innings for a guy who's never pitched over 70. That wasn't going to happen. So at some point, reality has to set in and say, hey, the best thing for this team is X. And that's where you're at right now. You're at right now a situation where to go up against the Padres, you feel like Clay Holmes is going to give you the best chance to get through 4, maybe 2 times through the lineup, and then turn it over because now you have a lefty. If they're going to put, a left-handed heavy lineup, and Manaea can give you 3 innings at least to get it down to those last guys that you really covet.
Guarantee.
No, there's no guarantee in any of it. But the thing is at least they're trying something. You can't you can't keep going with what was happening.
Right.
I don't want to watch. Do you think I want to watch? And now I know all 3 kids are up, but at the same time, it was 4 out of the. You were going 6 men deep in the rotation. Do I want to watch these other 4 guys go out there and just give me 4+? Like I don't know what. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the challenge is that you have to issue to guys and say, hey, figure out a way to get through 3 innings without 60, 70, 80 pitches. Like, pitch to some contact. You don't have to try to strike everybody out. And that's what's been happening. Clay Holmes is a huge proponent of going out there, going 0-2, and then finding a way to make it 3-2 again, give up a couple of hits, and now the wheels are spinning in the third inning, and you got him over 60, 70 pitches already. That's got to change. And it's a philosophy thing. It's a philosophy thing because these guys know I'm fighting for my life through the first 2 times through the lineup because I don't have to worry about anything else. We weren't built that way. We were built in a way where it was, hey, go out there and establish yourself in the first time through the lineup. See what they're doing against you. See who's aggressive, see who's not aggressive. See who you can, throw a first pitch breaking ball to, and maybe they swing and pop themselves up, get a ground ball. Try to get some outs, 3 pitches or less, so that you're saving major pitches for when you need them, and that's the 5th, 6th, and 7th innings. These guys, the philosophy is totally different now, and it hasn't altered, it hasn't been changed, it hasn't been. I think you have to tailor it to each guy, but it seems like it's a blanket philosophy. Like, hey, go out there and dominate 2 times through the lineup, and you're looking at guys who were normally relievers. Manaea was a reliever. Holmes was a reliever. Senga, of all the guys there, I literally asked him in spring training, what's it like to be the de facto ace once DeGrom, Scherzer, and Verlander left? What's it like to be the de facto ace of this staff? And he's like, I'm not the ace. I'm like, what? What do you mean you're not the ace? Ace is 2 things.
Answer.
Ace is 2 things, right? You're the highest paid pitcher, and you're the guy that's counted on to be the stopper whenever there's a losing streak, and the guy to continue winning streaks.
Rotation.
That's it. And he was so hesitant to take on that role. And then when am I going to go? Quintana? Hey, Quintana, you want to be the ace of the staff? They haven't had a guy who had the ace aura until McClain.
The mentality, it's up here. Maybe that's what's taken over this year. He's seeing Manaea falter. He's seeing Peterson falter. Montas is faltering. You're supposed to be the guy. And I'm not. Look, I can't tell you who I talk to. And Dan Bartel's my host. Everyone knows he works for my co-host, works for the New York Post. We've been told multiple times by people around the organization, he lacks that killer instinct. He doesn't react when he's punched in the mouth. When he's punched in the mouth, he cradles. And I never believed that. And I was hearing that before the season started. And I'm like, I don't remember seeing that. Then he got off to a good start. The team got off to a good start.
Yeah.
And we had, a great record, over 20 games over 500. Now we're fighting to beat 500. And then you watch these guys get hit in the mouth and they crumble. And that's what's going to lead me to my last question for you. And I want to get to a couple of our members' comments. Guys, obviously, if you want to interact with our guests, you need to be a member at Metcast. You can become a member down in the description below. And this is my last point to you, Nelson.
Okay.
Can we stop with the experiment of Brett Baty and Mark Vientos switching positions at third base? I've been to a million games this year. Baty blows the doors off Vientos defensively. Vientos will make a flashy play here or there, but the lazy mentality, we heard about it in spring training. We heard about it during the season. The ball's going through his glove. We see the other game. He cost the Mets 3 runs because he gets a ground ball and he's lackadaisical in the Phillies series throwing it to first base. Hell, when Keith Hernandez needs to call you out and say, you can't do that, it's unacceptable, that cannot happen. And not only that, let's go with the statistics. In the month of September, Brett Baty, 286, 762 OPS before today. With today counting, Mark Vientos is hitting 204. When it counts the most, Nelson, and I understand he did great in the postseason last year. You want to DH him. I mean, my philosophy, Nelson, if the Mets are not going to hit consistently, which they haven't, it took a walk-off. I mean, against the Rangers, you have Patrick Corbin, who couldn't make a major league roster 2 months ago, shutting you guys out, which is insane. Put Nimmo back in center field or put Marte in center field, DH Vientos, play Baty at third base, and leave McNeil at second base. You can go with a lighter defense in the outfield, but it gets you those bats in the lineup and probably one of the better defensive left side of the infield, the way Beatty's taken his defense to a whole new level. McNeil plays his natural position. I'm so tired of McNeil misplaying balls in the outfield. It's not his fault, but balls are getting down in the gap. We watch him misplay the ball the other game, which cost them a run. I'm so sick of that. Put Marte, look, it's all or nothing. It's not like you're asking him to do it the entire season. It's literally a couple of weeks. They can't field for a couple of weeks. We've been putting Marte out there. What do you think about that? Marte in center, one of them in left, Beatty at third, Vientos a permanent DH, and ride with it.
Well, I mean, it all makes sense. I think that's what you would probably try to do, is have Vientos lock in as a DH and just worry about his hitting, not worrying about his defense or his defense taking away from his hitting, because you need his bat more than you need his glove, quite frankly. Beatty is a much better defender, much better athlete over there. Looks like, you know, he can make every single kind of throw, make every single kind of play. He's had his misses here and there as well. So there's no perfect answer. There's no perfect player, because we can't sit back and say, oh my God, he's a Gold Glover, that he needs to play. Now, when it comes to the outfield situation, yeah, I mean, do I really want Siri out there batting a $130, striking out, the 3 to 4 times a game? For what? For one highlight play, or Mullins out there taking strike 3, most of the time, not even swinging through a strike 3, taking strike 3. I think when they have their meetings and they're putting it down there, and everybody, I could see like everybody putting together their A lineup kind of thing, right? Give me your best defensive lineup, give me your best offensive lineup, and they sit there and they tally it all up, and they're, one vote for Marte, I could see it happening. But at the end of the day, when you look at it and you're sitting here and with as many games as there are remaining, you have to find a way to score runs, right? The defense is, I don't think there's a guy out there playing defense, especially in the outfield, any of those guys playing defense in the outfield, that's going to embarrass you and be just awful. It's not Giancarlo Stanton in the outfield, where, I mean, even the Yankees survived by putting him out there for for a number of weeks before Aaron Judge could get it back out there. So there's ways to do it. And you're talking about a guy in Marte who was a former Gold Glove winner, could, patrol anywhere in the outfield and be able to be more than serviceable. So yeah, I agree. They've got to figure out a way to get more involved where you have offense and defense, but definitely the offensive side of things. I mean, you watch these kids pitching, and they're giving up 1 or 2 runs, and even today they only scored the 2 runs until they got the home run by Pete. And those are the things that it comes down to, is that this lineup was built to score runs, and we're not seeing it. We're not seeing any kind of consistency up and down the lineup. You have 1 or 2 hot games from each guy, but we have not seen a level of consistency that this team was supposed to have from the onset. And, go back to David Stearns and the moves that he made and the team that he put forth. Look, I look at it this way. He didn't hold back at the deadline. He went out there and tried to address a lot of the areas. Did they make a splash and get one of those, can't miss kind of trades? Did they strike gold with a Cespedes in 2015 type trade? No. It would have been fantastic if they could have found a way to do that. But that happens so rarely. That Cespedes himself was traded 2 times before that, and it didn't happen for him when he went to the Red Sox and to Detroit. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a situation that is as easy as it sounds, to just plug and play. Sometimes these things take a little while, and sometimes maybe, hey, it could happen the last week of the season. We saw this team get in the last day. Okay? Don't overthink it. Don't try to make it perfect. There is nothing in this game of baseball that is perfect. And the last thing I will say is this: they just have to have that urgency. If I see guys walking back, remember the body language sometimes from the Yankee players when they were, it was kind of, it was over for them in the playoff series, and the body language, and the fans would just boo the heck out of them. Like this is what you're doing. Like, this is the last, series we'll see in Yankee Stadium, and you guys are just kind of walking by like, so what? I struck out. That can't be the way that it feels. Like, it's got to feel like it means something to you. And I think that's what the fans want, because the fans we're on pins and needles. We're sitting at the edge of our seats. We are trying to will it to happen. I don't watch the games because I swear it feels like every time I turn on the game, something happens. I'm the mush. I'm the mush. I always sit there and I'm like, I will watch.
These people are gonna come after you full force.
I said I gotta watch. I gotta watch the replay. I gotta watch the replay because I swear every single time I'm like, oh my god, they're winning. This is great. You know, 10 pitches later, and all of a sudden, what just happened? So that's one of those things that, as a fan, you feel that way. My dad, I'll never forget this. This is a last thing before we'll take some questions. My dad, during the World Series with Ray Knight, before Ray Knight hits that home run, my dad was like, "Oh man, this guy never does anything when I'm watching him." He goes, "I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Let me know what he does." Dad left, go to the bathroom. He hits the home run. I go, "You're not gonna believe this. He hit a home run." He goes, I told you." So it's just we are.
Family, it's in the blood.
Yeah, we're superstitious about this thing, man. And, we want the best for this team. And we know that we saw such, ridiculously good baseball. And that was without one player functioning on all cylinders. Now that player is just, he's got a swagger to him that I wish the rest of the team had, because that seems to be what we thought it would look like, is Soto and the Mets. But the Mets have to show up.
100%. So every time the Mets lose, I'm going to be like, I'm thinking Nelson Figueroa, and I will tag you. So we're going to start it off with our rapid response to some of our members' comments. We only got a few of them here tonight, but I'm sure we'll get plenty in the replay. We'll start it off with Klub. Thanks, Klub, for chiming in. Think many will be back next year if the Mets miss the playoffs?
I think you have to have some semblance, and since he was hand-chosen to be the manager, I think you have to have some semblance of consistency. And he can only do so much as the manager, right? He's not the player. He's not the one out there performing. He can try all the different matriculations of lineups and bullpen pieces and everything else. And if the guys don't get the job done, do you really blame him for it? I mean, he's not going out there and going, let me try this. You can see the rhyme and reason for the moves that he made. And I think you talk about, everybody wants to see him, flip a table, walk out of a press conference, get, let guys know that they need to be held accountable, that kind of thing. Those days are gone, man. Those days are gone. Like managers don't want the clubhouse to be a breeding ground for I'm afraid what this guy's going to say about me in the papers. I'm afraid of what this,
to do it, right?
Yeah, you need. That's what it normally is.
Dragging guys down the tunnel, saying you're not going to pull this BS here with you booing the fans or anything. Marcus Stroman going after the fans.
Oh yeah. No, you need. That's the reason why you have captains. That's the reason why you have a inner circle of players. Those are the guys that are in the know of what's going on and what the team's thinking, right? And so I think when you look at the Mets and Mendoza, what they did, look, they had some shortcomings. They didn't have, with the health of several of their key pitchers and their performance, that there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, honestly, I think there was not a single person who said, "Oh, the Manaea signing, what a joke. Why wouldn't you take Severino instead?" No, they let Severino go. They kept Manaea because they like what they had from the left side, a guy who fit in very well. That's the other part that's very, very difficult. Putting the puzzle together and making the pieces fit. Like, you think it's easy to just grab all these all-stars and mash them together and they're just going to have success?
That's the San Diego the first year.
That's the San Diego Padres. That's the San Diego Padres. The San Diego Padres had the best. The San Diego Padres had a lineup that you would build in the video game. Like that's what it looked like.
MLB The Show, 100%.
They had not just the lineup, the bullpen, the starting rotation. They had everything.
Even this year, the starting rotation. Yeah. You have Michael King. You have all these guys that are supposed to be great. You trade for Miller. You got Xander Bogaerts, Machado, Tatis. You go on and on. You're like, all right, you have potentially 3 Hall of Famers back to back to back to back.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, when you look at it and what it comes down to, who's in front of you, and you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. The Joneses are in front of you, and they make it look easy because they had 14 pitchers out in the middle of the season, but they still found ways to win games, right? And that's why you tip your cap to an organization like the Dodgers. And even saying that about the Dodgers and the Yankees, right? Those are the 2 creme de la creme. How many times have they won a World Series in the last 20 years?
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong. Yes, they won in 2020, but that was basically a tournament. Only 66 games. That's not how real baseball is played. But with all the money that they sunk into the Dodgers since the new ownership group came in 2012, you're talking about over $3 billion, and they've won one World Series finally. And what did it take? Two starters that weren't on your team. Yamamoto was there, but he hadn't pitched the whole first half. You had Flaherty, who wasn't even on your team.
Throwing bullpen games.
And then you had bullpen games in the World Series. Who would have thunk it? So there's no right answer to this thing. Moneyball for every. Oh, but what about the money? Moneyball didn't win anything. Moneyball didn't win a championship. We love Moneyball. We talk about it. They preach it. It's a class at colleges. It didn't win a championship, but it was a way to put a competitive team together. So there's no right way to do this thing, man. And sometimes it takes a little bit of luck. It's at the right time. But at the end of the day, man, those fans, the way that the atmosphere had been all year long at Citi Field, it's been a long time since it was that way on a Tuesday night in May and June.
They're
you know what I'm saying?
Right now in all of Major League Baseball in attendance. I believe it's 39,000 and change. Though it only holds 41. So
they broke their record already. Yeah.
Those are the single seats throughout the stadium that people aren't buying.
The fans right now, I get it, man. If you think it's bad for you as a fan, you think the team is sitting there in the midst of an 8-game losing streak and they're like excited about it, they feel good about it, they can sleep at night. Like that stuff eats at you. Like I was part of the collapse in 2008, and I look at it now and I'm like, oh my God, it was not even a baby collapse compared to the other two, right? 2007, of course, but that team was built in 2006 that went to the playoffs, and that team was built in 2006 in that playoffs run to be that team in 2007, to be that team in 2008, to continue to go to the playoffs back to back years and have a chance to get into World Series. This team still has that chance. And so I know it's a very thin margin right now, and then it's a very thin lead. But, man, all it takes is we've seen it. How many times have we seen it this season? 7-game winning streaks, 7-game losing streaks. The Mets have done it 3 times.
Crazy.
They need to do it. They need a 7-game winning streak in here. Find a way to do it. Punch the bullies in the mouth and see what happens.
So Scott P says, can we stop using Garrett in close games? Rather see Stanek at this point. Reed's been, there's a reason why they sent him down. They bring him right back up, and he gives up 3 runs immediately, Nelson.
Yeah, and this is a guy who last year, when they found him off the scrap heap and they changed his pitch mix, this is what's called scouting, and this is what's called while you figure it out. And he shocked the world last year with his pitch mix. They know what his pitch mix is now. Baseball has the game plan. So when you're a guy that throws 3-4 pitches, you're supposed to have the advantage because it's called unpredictability. But if you're a predictable guy who only throws certain pitches in certain situations, when you're ahead, when you're behind, to right-handers or to left-handers, you're doing yourself a disservice. And I think that's what he fell in love with this pitch mix that worked so well with him, because once he got ahead, it was forkball, split finger at 91 miles an hour, and they got a bunch of swings and misses. Well, baseball's hip to it. And he had 97 in the tank, right? He was throwing fastballs in on people. He's throwing cutters. He's throwing all these other pitches. He just has to get back to that. And I think it's the same element. Every pitcher is like this. And when everything's going really well, it's simple, man. It's fun. And when you struggle and you get booed off the mound, like it takes a lot to get back out there and not hear a boo. You start hearing boos when you're warming up. You start hearing at home. You start hearing boos when you're warming up, and that's where it starts to eat at you a little bit. That doubt comes into mind of who am I facing? And they're telling you, hey, you got these 3 guys. What's the game plan? What are we looking to do with these guys? We're going to attack early or whatever it may be. And you go out there and guy swings first pitch fastball, hits a home run. Holy, I thought we were attacking, and that. Well, nobody told them, So the idea to go out there and compete for a guy like Reed Garrett, I mean, I love his stuff. I loved him as a competitor, but it was the same thing. Once you saw him get punched in the mouth, you kind of saw him take a step back. And then he started being relegated to, obscure roles of being up by 6 or down by 6. And that's where, especially when you're a long man. So I was a long man a lot of my career, and I would, get in and out of the starting rotation, and I would sit there and I'd talk to the pitching coach and go, so let me get this right. The only way that I pitch is if the starter gives up 6. Other than that, I'm just at the ballpark to watch.
Right.
And he's like, would you rather watch here or would you rather watch on TV? And I'm like, I got it, but what? Like, I was pitching well. Like, how do I keep pitching well if I don't get a chance to pitch? Stay
Right.
ready. Stay ready. And so that's the only advice I have for Mr. Reed is stay ready, because you never know when an injury happens. You never know when a guy goes down that, hey, your number is called, and that may be the day that you have your best day.
Nelson, I'll tell you, we were there Friday, and there's a different feel to the atmosphere. We get there very early. Like to get, my seat was behind the dugout. I could hear the player chatter. You see their pregame warm up. I'm telling you, it was almost like a nervous energy. Maybe not coming from the ball players, but with the fans.
Oh, God, yes.
Within the last couple weeks, it's dramatically changed. I've gone to a million games this year, and it's usually hyped. People are walking the concourse screaming, "Let's go, Mets!" Walking up the elevator, the team store's popping. You feel it. You're talking. You're BSing to the guy behind you on the line, getting the fresh steaks. Shout out to the Mets. Got the best steak in the outfield, right center field. I'll tell you that right now. But there was a different air on Friday, and it was an expectation of loss. And I'm talking to Dan. We ran into a bunch of our fans there. Shout out to you guys who came and said hello. I was saying, Nelson, I said, Jonah Tung's going to get rocked tonight. And Dan will attest that, and everybody else. Oh, Ray, don't say. I'm like, I feel it. I'm watching him warming up. You could tell he's not locating. And one thing that has got around the league, he can't consistently locate any of his breaking pitches. The entire league sitting on that fastball, and he can locate it for the most part. But when he's off, he elevates that fastball, and it goes right down the middle, and it doesn't matter. We've seen it with Helsley. You could throw 103 guys in this league will turn on it. And now the Mets announced that he's going to get another start. I don't see anything changing. This guy needs an offseason. He needs the pitching lamp. He needs to develop that curveball. He needs to develop the cutter, the changeup. And even he says it. He admits it. He's working on all that stuff. I thought it was premature to bring him up. And it's one thing. Look, I was there for his first start. It was electric, everything. And I was talking to a former player's son who I'm close friends with at the game. I met with him at the game. We're talking, and even he's like, listen, I've been around at the game forever. He's a little raw. We all know it. And even the Mets do it, but we've been forced into this position where you have to throw this guy, and I'm nervous. You could tell me, because you've been in the clubhouse. Could the Mets wreck this kid by throwing him out there again, and say he goes 2 innings again and gives up 7 runs? Could you destroy his confidence potentially going into next season, or is that kind of overrated? And then we'll get to the last comment from our members.
You hope a kid like this is built a little bit tougher. He's from Canada. There's a lot that he had to go through to prove himself. He's not the biggest kid. He goes out there and he's unorthodox, and a lot of coaches would probably try to change a lot of his mechanics, because there's a lot of things that are moving in different directions, and that deals with being able to locate and replicate your mechanics and being able to put the ball where you want to when it comes to having command issues. So it's the gift and the curse with him, right? He has the Tim Lincecum ability to hide the ball, the funky mechanics. And then once he lets it go, now it's got to be executing pitches. You can't make the mistakes over and over in the middle of the plate. So can he get rocked? Absolutely. Will he get rocked? Hopefully he learned from this last opportunity that falling behind and having to throw fastballs and fastball counts isn't a recipe for success. So, and if you're able, and one of the things that I had to learn at a very young age, because I didn't have a plus fastball, was, all right, so I'm in a fastball count. I can't give him a fastball. And can I go to one pitch only? And every time I'm in a fastball count, I go to a slider, and now they're sitting on slider? No, I got to be able to throw multiple pitches. And since they have command of multiple pitches, he's got to be able to throw multiple pitches in that fastball count. Sometimes you got to pitch backwards. Sometimes you can't lead. Sometimes you can't lead the dance. You got to let somebody else lead and figure out along the way to get the best out of yourself. You're not always going to be able to be the guy that is in command. especially against a veteran team. Like they used to be, because they didn't have a lot of video on us, they didn't have a lot of information on us. They would go one time through the lineup and let you pitch yourself into a circle. And that's what you see teams doing. Like, let this kid walk you. Let this kid throw 8 pitches to every batter. By the time the first inning's over, he's at 32 pitches. And that's not going to be conducive to, having success. So he's got to go out there and just challenge and locate and get ahead and then be able to expand the zone. So it's the same game. I think you got to keep it simple for him. I think you got to hope that he's not overwhelmed, because it is way different than pitching in Binghamton, New York, when you're pitching in these major league stadiums. So I don't think they'll ruin him.
Sold out.
Right. Right. And all the pressure, I played with a guy who shall remain nameless. I got that too. I got that line. I played with a guy who was given an opportunity to be the closer down the stretch in 2008. And I'll never forget this. He came over to me and he goes, "Can you believe this?" I said, "What happened?" He goes, "They just asked me if I would be the closer." And I go, "What'd you say?" And he's like, "Absolutely not." I go, "You're joking, right? Like, you got to be joking." He goes, "Bro, they didn't even let me make the team out of camp. Now, with the season on the line, they want me to be the closer?" No. And I was like, "Oh my God. Like, what did you do in the backyard? Did you bring in the other pitcher in the backyard when you were doing the ball against the wall, the bases loaded World Series? I'm facing the best hitter in baseball. No, I don't want to do that. Bring in the lefty. It's a better matchup." Like, I never forgot that. And that hit me in a way. Like, there are people who actually don't want the ball. Like, I killed myself to get to that opportunity. And when I got up to the big leagues, the first thing I would tell every single manager, every single pitching coach, whatever it is you need me to do. You need me to start, you need me to relieve, you need me to be the long man, you need me to be, short, whatever you need me to do. I can do anything you need me to do. You need me to go out there and just throw breaking balls? I can do that. You need me to go out there and just throw nothing but split fingers? I can do that. You want me, whatever you need me to do, I've trained my whole life for an opportunity. Give me the opportunity and I'll figure out the rest. And so that's why I was up and down in the big leagues 11 times. You don't normally get more than a cup of coffee when you are a 30th round draft pick and, you don't have 95-mile-an-hour fastball. So, I sit back, and for a kid like Jonathan, look, you're getting an opportunity. Hopefully he wants it, and we'll see.
All right, really quickly, fire round, because I know we're tight for time. We got this from Jim. Is there any commonality you could see with these pitchers all collapsing at the same time?
No, because is there any commonality with all these hitters collapsing at the same time? I mean, there right? There really isn't. There isn't a rhyme or reason to it. And as fans, we bang our head against the wall because we say, "I've never seen this before." Every year, how many times have we said, "I've never seen this before. I've never seen it." And I think it's a shame, because there isn't I know for a fact the philosophy isn't, "Hey, let's not get the job done today. Let's walk guys and put guys on and not be able to hold on runners." I mean, there's so many different things to this game that it's a game of failure. And when you find success in it, you want to always find success in it, but you have to figure out a way to keep from failing. And I don't like the way that the Mets sometimes play, not to lose.
All right, and last but not least, El Jefe. Great to see you, Ray. Met El Jefe this weekend. Great guy. Ask Nelson about Mendoza's credibility after the Sproat miles per hour BS.
Yeah, these things are so monitored, especially for a guy who's pitched all year long. And has tried to pitch major innings down at the minor leagues. They tried to keep him to 5 innings, but he was pitching so well that you kept giving him a little more because you were hoping that would translate to the big league level. It's 1.5 times harder to do it at the big league level. I never sweat so much in my life. When I was in the minor leagues, I didn't sweat nearly as much. I had 5 jerseys in my locker. I was like, "Why do all these jerseys?" They're like, "Because you're going to sweat a lot." I'm like, "Oh, I only need 1. Come on." And then I'm like, in the second inning, I'm panting and my shirt is just weighing heavy on me. So it's definitely a different level. So there's a multitude of things, but I find it
Do the
hard to
players feel
not.
any different? Like, why are you pulling this guy? We need this win so badly. Do they get that in their heads?
No, because I think they realize they look in the bullpen and who was warming up. It was Brooks Raley. You have the
So
utmost
you trust
confidence that
them.
Brooks Raley. Yeah, you trust Brooks Raley. Now, if it was Reed Garrett, if it was I don't know which is the number 49 on the list, any of these other guys, in that situation, then you're like, man, I don't think it's the right move. And for all intents and purposes, Brooks Raley did his job, right? And then the next one who came was Tyler Rogers. What are you thinking? Oh, Rogers is disgustingly nasty. He's got a 1.8. So you can't fault the thought process. The execution didn't happen. The game got tied, and you weren't able to push across a run. Hey, score more runs. I used to tell people when I was a pitching coach in Taiwan, I said, I'm going to tell you this right now. We will never lose a game if we score one more run than the other team. And I'll say that as the pitching coach every time. So
what a move. All right, Nelson, thanks so much for your time. Guys, if you want to be locked in to get your questions right in the future with our guests, whoever we're going to have on, we have a few of them in the future coming up, lined up as the postseason hunt continues. Be sure to become a member. Check it out in the description below over on YouTube. Nelson, thanks so much. Where can people find you, and when are you next on television?
Weeknights, 7:00, Sports Nation Nightly, along with Mark Malusis. We do our normal ranting about New York sports, and we'll be doing it about football, especially tomorrow. Can't wait for that. So the Mets finally win.
The Jets breakdown. JES suck. But that's all we got for you guys. Thanks so much for sticking around, Nelson. Thanks again. And as always,
you got it.
Let's go Mets. God bless you guys.
You got it.